Good afternoon and welcome to the Electoral Commission of Zambia stand here at the 56th Zambia International Trade Fair. We have brought our presence as Electoral Commission of Zambia because we are a very critical component of the governance system of this country. And what we are trying to share with the people that are coming through to the stand, and indeed those that are watching us on Diamond TV, is who we are as Electoral Commission of Zambia and some of the activities that we are undertaking. So what we're speaking to is our mandate, of course, having been established under Article 226 of the Republican Constitution. Our role is to undertake electoral activities, and in the electoral activities there's quite a bit more that is involved. So you talk about delimitation, for instance, where we have to delimit the electoral boundaries ranging from constituencies, wards, and indeed polling stations. We also undertake an interesting aspect that we'll be speaking to in detail, which is registration of voters. We also do the voting process itself, which is a critical component for someone who's watching us right now. So we have a constitutional mandate as well as a statutory mandate. So under the Constitution, those are some of the things that I've spoken to. When we talk about the statutory mandate, we're simply talking about the guidance that comes under the Electoral Process Act number 35 of 2016, which now begins to guide all these processes that we undertake, including the Code of Conduct that guides the conduct of various stakeholders in the electoral process when we begin campaigns up to the time that results are declared. One of the most critical issues that people are speaking to and wanting to know is the fact that in the 2021 general election, we had what is perceived to be a high number of rejected ballot papers. So why I'm saying perceived for now is that we haven't yet commissioned research to see what made that. If you look at the numbers of people that came out to vote, we also had a high turnout. So what is the possibility? Is it corresponding to the fact that we had too many people? But we are not running away from the fact that those were rejected. Even two rejections for us matter. And that is one of the things that we are focusing on here, to provide voter education on how to mark a ballot paper. And so this information is displayed so that we take people through the process. The other aspects that we are looking at is obviously the layout of the polling station. So for a first-time voter, when you walk into the polling station, what do you see? That is where now we'll show you the actual layout, which includes the tables and what those tables represent, the polling booths where you go to cast your vote, and now you throw them in the ballot boxes, respective ballot boxes. And I'm saying respective because we have presidential, National Assembly, local government, and under local government you have mayoral or council chairperson. You also have for the councillor. In the time that you are conducting an election and there's a referendum, you also have a ballot box that represents the referendum. So we are bringing this information to the table so that we begin to understand what happens. Now, when you declare election results, people think, oh, the ECZ is done, now they've gone to sleep. What happens? And someone says, but you people, you don't even do anything after a general election. So we are also creating sensitization around the electoral cycle, which is 5 years. We hold a general election every after 5 years in this country. So there's the pre-election period, we have the actual election period and the post-election period. So under pre, that is where the planning starts. So if you remember very well, at the beginning of this year, we did give out our strategic intent and direction as Electoral Commission of Zambia on how our planning looks like. One of those issues related to continuous registration of voters, which I'll come into details to when we get to that section. So we've started planning for 2026 and what needs to be done going forward. Voter registration itself comes in the pre-election period. When we go to the actual elections, that's where you find nominations, the voting itself, declaration of results, and the post looks at how did we conduct all these processes pre-election itself and where we are. What worked, what didn't work, and what are the recommendations for us to improve. So we are speaking to the fact that the electoral cycle is there for 5 years and that the Electoral Commission of Zambia does not go to sleep after the declaration of a general election results. Now, Let me also just speak to the fact that for us the big story is continuous registration of voters. On the 1st of June this year, we commenced continuous registration of voters. And if the viewers recall, the only time the Commission would conduct registration of voters before a general election, but this is not the case. The Electoral Commission of Zambia will now be conducting continuous registration of voters. Our offices will be open Mondays to Friday, 8 hours to 17 hours, except on weekends as well as holidays. And you'll be able to register as a voter, but quickly, I should mention that there are qualifications for one to register as a voter. The issues that we need to bring to the fore are that you should be a Zambian citizen, you should be in possession of a green national registration card, and you should be 18 years and above. That gives you the basic qualification to register as a voter. Where are these registration centers? For now, we are in 10 districts, what we are calling provincial districts, such as Ndola, where we are today. We are in Lusaka, we are in Mongu, we are in Solwezi, Kabwe, Choma, Chinsali, Chipata, Kasama. So basically, this is where our presence has started. So progressively, we'll be going to all the 116 districts in the coming years. So some of the services that you'll be able to access at our registration centers include new registration for those who didn't have an opportunity to register in 2020, and also those that are turning the age of 18 have got an opportunity now to come and register and get a new voter's card. We are also doing replacements. So for replacements, this is in the case where someone lost their card. And to that, I'll put a disclaimer that if you've lost your voter's card and you want to replace, you should come with a police report, your NRC, and we'll be able to issue you with a new card. Replacement can also be done for cards that are defaced. And if we say defaced, it's cards that are not clear, maybe scratched. You know, we look after these things differently. There are people who literally, hold their cards in their hands, and as a result, the defacing is happening. We are able to replace. Others, it's because of the change of name. So when you change your name, and legally so, there's a deed poll that is done to confirm that you've changed your name, and those are the documents that we'll be looking for us to be able to do that. But also for us to maintain a credible register, we are calling on people that have got deceased relatives to come forward with their voters' cards, their NRCs, and indeed even the death certificate to confirm that this person is dead, so that we take them out of the register. And during the registration process itself, we'll be receiving appeals, we'll be receiving objections, and an appeal comes in form of someone who's been missed on the register. So you have your card, but you're not appearing on the register. You can appeal to be put back on the register. If you are raising an objection, you're simply saying, this person is not qualified to sit on the register. So what are some of the things? Like I said, maybe they're not yet 18 years and above. Maybe they're not in possession of a national registration card, that's a green national registration card, or they're not even Zambian. So you raise an objection, and the due process will follow through for the Commission to determine indeed that this person should not be on the register of voters. So those are some of the services that we are providing. Allow me at this point to talk about the theme and how we are interpreting it. It's mainly focusing on value addition. So for us, the value addition is speaking to the fact that we are always looking at different and modern ways of doing things. If you look at the Electoral Commission of Zambia, 2020, we introduced quite some amazing innovations, technology, and this started when we commenced the voter registration process. You had to key in your details, online, and you just finalized the process itself physically by going to the center to pick your card. So even at this point, we are enhancing all our systems to ensure efficiency in what we do and how we conduct ourselves. But maybe when we talk about the way we conducted the general election, one of the innovations that is a value addition that people have asked about is the biometric voter identification machine. And the question is, why that machine and what is it able to do? So these machines were deployed in polling stations where there was high voter turnout. They are an enabler because they help to identify the voter quickly. So if I'll give you an example of the polling stations, if you have 3 or 4 polling stations in one area and you go and queue in a wrong queue for that matter, that machine, when somebody is going through the queue, they're able to tell that you're not supposed to queue here. You need to go into another queue. And let me also just speak quickly to why this is the case. Remember, we had screens initially, but these screens were converted into polling stations. So what people know as screens are now polling stations. So how do you line up in a stream? It's according to alphabetical order of your surnames. So if my name is Luhanga, and I go and line up where the B's are, the C's are, the Bandas, the Chandas, that machine is able to tell that I'm not supposed to be on that queue, but I need to move to a queue where the L's, as in Luhanga, sit. So these are the processes that are helping us to do value addition to the way we work. And I also just want to speak about a success story, which we usually give ourselves a pat on the back for having really achieved amazing things 2020 into 2021. We conducted the 2021 general election amidst COVID pandemic, and critics actually said we will not be able to do most of these activities. And one of the controversial issues was the registration of voters. If you recall, we had to do away with the old register and introduce a new register. And we had a target of 8.4 million eligible citizens. Out of that, we registered slightly over 7 million. That translates into about 83%. That was huge for us. And when you look at the global averages, it speaks to the fact that the Electoral Commission of Zambia sits in the top tier in terms of the registration processes and numbers that come up. And we also had a huge voter turnout at 70%. If you compare with 2016, we only had 56%. And this one, we don't take the credit ourselves as ECZ, but it was concerted efforts from all stakeholders to include political parties, civil society organizations, yourselves as media, and the electorate for a key role that you played in ensuring that we have this success story as ECZ. But then what necessitated all this? We put in place a multi-sectoral technical committee that looked at the modalities of conducting the general election amidst COVID. And we came up with a standard operating procedures that guided all the activities that we needed to undertake in the electoral calendar and ensure that we protect the lives of Zambians. For us, the life of a voter matters. Imagine if we had a situation where we didn't put in these key measures. We would not be talking about the 70% voter turnout that we are talking about today. So that's a success story for us as Electoral Commission of Zambia and the many things that we are doing. And especially for voter education, those that have got an opportunity to come through, you should be able to come and we'll take you through most of the questions that you have will be answered, and we'll provide you with information in terms of brochures that you can read at your own time.